What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. So, last week I missed our show, Midweek High Vibe Conversations, because I was busy getting a new do. And this week, Drew Mack is missing our show because he is entrenched in bringing high energy and high vibes to his community in Ann Arbor, Michigan right now as he goes through Welcome Week for all the college students, which I love. So I am here briefly, one, because I just love you all and love connecting and sharing in high vibe energy. And two, to share some love, share something that came up for me that I think is really important. And if anybody is watching this and wants to jump in, feel free. Otherwise, I'm just going to riff a little bit, which I do quite often, and see where it goes. Yesterday, I was talking to this beautiful soul, a dear friend of mine, who works in addiction and mental health recovery, similar to me. And she talked about being really frustrated with the abuse that she sees, frustrated with the pervasive addiction and the fear that comes with talking about addiction, because so often people are very afraid to discuss it. And I get that. But something came to me as I was discussing this with her, and I often have to remind myself about is when we allow ourselves to sit in frustration, fear, anger, apathy, we operate from a lower energy, a lower vibration. And so we're not able to make as much of an impact. We're not able to infuse the world with a high energy that is really going to be what causes the shift and what causes the changes and movement from struggling with suffering, struggling with needing or feeling the need to lean into addiction and mental health, and just showing up as love, right? And so I shared with this beautiful soul, anytime I find myself getting frustrated, angry, upset, I cultivate compassion for either the assumed perpetrator, for the person who's struggling with addiction, for myself for feeling that way. And as soon as I cultivate those emotions, I'm now sitting in love, in a higher energy, a more um supportive and nurturing space. And when I'm able to cultivate that self love and that love for other people, wherever they're at, without trying to change them or create this expectation of who they need to be and how they need to show up, I'm then able to serve. I'm able to serve and create a bigger impact, create a bigger shift within the community that I'm working with, within the person I'm serving, within myself. And so today I want to really encourage you guys, when you're feeling disempowered, when you're feeling anger, don't minimize or judge yourself for feeling those feelings, but ask yourself, what can I do to shift out of this anger, to shift out of this fear, to shift out of this apathy, to shift out of this feeling of helplessness, of the inability to move things forward, and rather come back to a place of compassion, of self-love, of kindness towards yourself. Because when you're sitting in love for yourself, guys, you're much more capable and willing to sit in love for other people. And that's truly how I believe we will change the world. And when you look at some of the greatest influences of humanity's time, right? Gandhi was able to break his nation free from the hold of Britain through love, not through war. Martin Luther King was able to cultivate a community of people and create a movement when there was no social media, limited television broadcasts, because he stayed in love. And again, guys, when we're thinking about it from an energetic perspective, we have much more power, much more influence when we sit in love rather than anger, fear, and judgment. And that's exactly what I strive to do every day is, do I come from a place of judgment at times? Hell yes. Because my conditioned behaviors, my habits, the ideas that were embedded into my subconscious from in utero to 6 or 7, or even beforehand, if you believe in past lives, um, it's all from a place of judgment, of ideologies. But I catch myself instantaneously in that judgment, and then I choose differently. And so I'm not different than anybody else out there. I'm not somebody who doesn't have an experience where I look at somebody and make a judgment. It's just that I catch that judgment before it becomes something critical, and I shift and I decide to choose something loving instead. And I also get curious, why is it I'm having this thought? And quite often it's just because that's what I grew up being told to believe. But just because I was told to believe it doesn't mean I have to hold on to that belief. I get to examine it and say, well, does it serve me? Does it feel good? And more often than not, the reality is it doesn't. If it keeps me from experiencing joy, if it keeps me from experiencing laughter, connection, abundance in all aspects of my life, then it's a belief that I'm no longer willing to hang on to. And that's what I would encourage all of you guys to do is, when you catch yourself angry or feeling disempowered, can you examine your belief around the situation, around the experience you're in? And can you give yourself permission to shift out of that belief into a belief that feels lighter, that feels more joyful, that feels less harsh, less confining, less isolating? Because the truth is, guys, we're all connected. We are all energy, and we're all connected, and we're all meant to be in community with each other, despite the physical appearances, despite the ideology we were brought up with. And when you can strip down that those ideas and those beliefs and those behaviors that keep us separated, then we shift into connection, and that's where love is held, and that's where we have the most power to create massive change and influence in this world. And I have to tell you, I'm hopeful. I literally show up every day and I work towards showing up in wonder, curiosity, hope, love, compassion, first for myself, because I still have those experiences where I'm in fear, judgment, guilt, but I immediately give myself permission to change my perspective, to change how I'm showing up. And then I come from a place of wonder and curiosity and wonder what it is that I'm going to experience in the day. Who am I going to be able to meet? What conversations am I going to have that open me up to more insights, more connection, more joy, more joy, more joy. Because damn, is this life joyful when you allow yourself to remain open to what can be rather than what you think it should be. And I do have so much hope and tremendous love for all people, people who struggle with addiction, people who have committed perceived heinous crimes, people who feel isolated, because I know that it's just going to take one person to touch them with light, to touch them with non-judgment, to touch them with compassion and warmth, to shift them out of the experience that makes them believe that they have to behave a certain way or they're stuck in this certain condition. Um, that's the power of all of us, guys. That's the power of the vibration of love, unconditional love, and authenticity. So I'm always reminded that on the days when I've worked with a client who's seeped in fear or struggling, and I want to say, man, this feels so hard and it feels like I'm never getting traction or buy-in or belief in themselves, I come back to hope and believe that if I could do it, and I did, then anybody can do it. And that's what keeps me in love, joy, and hope. And with that and my 10-minute blurb, I'm going to sign off as I get curious and excited for the trip that I'm about to embark on to New York City with my favorite person, um, and see where the universe takes us and where I land. Until next week, guys, I hope that you guys found something from this little tangent that I went on. And if you have any questions for Drew Mack, who works with energy and is a gift to my life and to many people who he connects with, or myself, please reach out. We are easily accessible. Our information is always available, and we love unexpected conversations. So, big love to all of you. See you next week. Have a blessed and joy filled Wednesday.